another one.
So the next question says, I need guidance. My manager has asked me to prepare an action plan on how I will be training developers on how to write UI end-to-end and API integration tests using the framework I have built. So, my problem is I have always been involved in developing or maintaining testing frameworks. I have always worked in the shadows, just getting things done and pretty much working in my own silo. This worked for me for about 8 years now, but presently I have been asked by my manager to prepare a roadmap on how I can train developers to start writing their own end-to-end and integration tests using my frameworks. And I am completely clueless on how or what to share. I've developed API testing frameworks using Rest Assured with TestNG in Java, and UI testing frameworks is Playwright with TypeScript. Good guy, is this your question I'm reading? Good guy, is this your question? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. As vague as I understand, maybe I have to share timelines, topics to cover. I actually have no clue. What do we share in a roadmap document for upskilling resources? Okay, cool. So that's the question. That is the question. Let's get to it. Let's put our timer up. So this, first and foremost, I'm going to say you have an excellent opportunity to shine at your company right now. So many times we get afraid, we get scared because you're like, oh my goodness, I have to talk. Well, the thing is, so most people who tend to be in IT tend to be extroverted, because if we were extroverted, why would we be sitting behind a computer all day doing code and stuff like that, right? Why? But here's the thing. Times has changed, right? Because while we used to be pretty much locked in a dungeon, just writing code, and then sending it out. Now with the change to like software development, with the iterative process where the development team is way more involved, now you're going to have to start presenting, you're going to have to start training and stuff like that. And being that you built this framework, you have the excellent opportunity for people to use stuff that you have done. So just imagine how amazing it sounds that, hey, I built this framework and I have this suite of developers who are writing their own tests. So you have empowered the developers to be able to write tests, to do API testing, to do integration testing. Because I'll tell you this, developers, as amazing as they are as coming up with like how to create functionality and stuff like that, they are not the best at testing, right? It's just, testing is not something that is normally taught in college. They might, if you're lucky, get a little bit of unit testing, but unit testing and functional testing, end-to-end testing, is two totally different things. So now to get to your question, how would you go about it? So let's start with the roadmap, right? The roadmap would be, okay, it's pretty much what your plan is, right? So it says, the way that I would go about teaching this is, when I'm using my own framework to write automated tests, how do I do that? And then how would I document it? So let's picture it like this. You come into a project, right? You already have your framework done, right? So let's say, for instance, you built the Netflix safe test framework, right? Now you get put on a project where you're going to be automating something. I don't know. Maybe it's a let's say it's an application for some type of network, where like a group of people, where you see who are the members, right? And you're building this network, right? You're building the application. Maybe it's a web application, and you need to automate it, right? So what would be your first step to getting that done, right? So that first step would be the first part of the roadmap. Simple as that. The first step would be the first part of the roadmap. And now, whatever you do first, so like me personally, I'd probably say, okay, let me I'm not sure if the developers are writing the test cases or if you have QA engineers or analysts or whoever testers writing the test cases, but wherever the test cases come from, so okay, so let me see my test cases, let me see my inventory and stuff like that. And so that'll be like the first step. Now we start to prepare writing our test. So you being that you're using Java, right? I'd say, okay, let me the way that I'd normally start is I would say, all right, let me create my test file in TestNG where my test case is going to live. And I'm going to just write some comments and say, okay, I'm going to write the comments out the steps of the test that I'm going to follow, right? And then I would start plugging in. So that would be like the next step of the framework of your roadmap of how it's going to work. And then I'm going to say, okay, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start creating my page objects, right? And at some point in there, you're going to say, okay, you're going to import the framework into the project. So that's probably pretty much early on. You're doing that through Maven when you're just getting started. If you're using Python, then you probably do like install the requirements file, whatever the case may be. But that's so that's that part, right? And now, okay, now let me start creating my page objects, right? And I say, okay, I have like you create the page objects for like the home page, and the way I normally do it, I go through the per test. So I create the page objects to create like the first test, right? Let's say the first test is like logging in or creating an account. Let's say registering, right? So I'm gonna create the page objects for like the registration page where I'm gonna be entering my like whatever information you're gathering. So it could be like your name, first name, last name, email address, username, password, whatever the case may be, right? So you're capturing, like you're creating the page objects for that. And then you automate that on the actual test, right? Writing your methods and stuff like that. So this is all part of the roadmap. And in the roadmap, like I don't know if it's meant by what are you going, like the roadmap of the training or the roadmap the developers would be using to do the automation, right? You figure that out. But I would pretty much be either training in that process, and I'll be teaching like this is how I do it, and the same exact way that you would be automating the project is how you would be teaching them to do it. And they're going to have questions, and they're going to say, "Oh, about this, how about that?" They're going to answer little developer questions, and you're going to answer it, and you're going to have a great grand time. And then at the end, they are going to be like, they will say they super duper appreciate you because you like and you're going to get so much more coverage because you're going to have the developers who are going to be writing end-to-end tests as well and API tests, and you can continue to empower them by adding more and more to the framework. So this is going to be great, right? So I would say do not be afraid, do not fear. What's the worst that can happen, right? What's the worst that can happen? Like a lot of times we get so scared of going into the different opportunities that we have, and I love it, right? I'm like one of the most introverted people, right? But I always go looking for the opportunity to share and to go outside of my comfort zone, because that builds strength, that builds character, and it just makes you so much better overall. Because I never thought that I'd be doing these on like going live on YouTube like six times a week and putting videos every single day. But that makes me a lot stronger and a lot better, right? So let's wrap that one up.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.